has been controversial, hasn't it, since it was made compulsory 2 years ago. But what is actually being taught? Some schools are apparently using outside agencies to provide the teaching materials, and there are concerns that some of these agencies could have a bit of a strange agenda, to put it mildly, about sex and gender. Some parents, Joanna, are quite worried at the moment. There's been campaigns here, there and everywhere about this topic. Where do you stand on it?
Well, I'm worried about it, and I think most parents...
You're a parent as well?
I am, and I think parents should be worried about this. I think we're right to be worried about it. Of course, I don't think there's anything to worry about in terms of teaching sex to children, the basic facts of life. I think all children need to know how human reproduction occurs, how babies are made. I think that's absolutely crucial and a key part of biology. I mean, clearly that has to be on the biology curriculum. I think the bit that's controversial is the bit that came in 2 years ago legally and has been in place a bit longer than that informally, and that's the teaching of relationships, because to me it's impossible to teach relationships without imposing values. And you can be an expert in biology, you can have a degree in biology, you can pass on your subject knowledge, but no one is an expert in relationships. So I'm not surprised really that teachers are quite nervous about getting involved with teaching this. I mean, how do you even go about teaching relationships? It's a very, very difficult thing to teach. And you've got all these outside organisations then essentially preying on teachers' lack of confidence in this area, teachers' concerns, who are then being paid to come into schools and to promote their own agenda. And it's an agenda which is often led by campaigning groups who are promoting messages around gender fluidity, the idea that gender is something on a spectrum, that is a feeling that you have inside, and it's the responsibility of children to choose their gender. Really backward and outdated ideas, like, if you like wearing blue clothes and playing with trucks and football, then that means you must be a boy. Whereas if you like dressing in pink and playing with dolls, that means you must be a girl. Now, those are really stupid ideas and dangerous ideas, I think, to teach children. And we have seen a huge explosion in the number of children coming forward seeking medical help with their concerns over their gender identity. And it does strike me that this is one reason why this might be taking place. So I think parents are right to be worried, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the parents' responsibility to teach children about relationships, not the school's responsibility.
Yeah, but all I'd say to that, Chris, I mean, in an ideal world, I agree with a lot of what Joanna's just said. But unfortunately, in this society, there are a lot of wrong-uns that are parents that, in my view, have got no business actually having kids. They're not good parents. They don't have healthy, loving, respectful relationships at home. And then what happens often, domestic abuse cycles, whatever, people repeat often what they do see at home. So I think that in those kind of situations, I think it's quite helpful to teach kind of things like relationship values in a classroom.
No, I don't really agree. I didn't actually know it was compulsory. I mean, if anything, I think it should be banned. Sex education should just be half an hour in the biology curriculum. Birds and the bees, this is a condom, this is a pill, that's it, move on. I don't agree with teachers being taught into turning into social workers. People are always demanding this be put on the curriculum, this be put... Let's have more climate change on the curriculum, let's have insulation on the curriculum, whatever. Let's just have economics and maths and English, Teach kids something that, they're not going to get anywhere else. They can learn about relationships and indeed sex from all sorts of different places. And the fact that it's also led to a bunch of cranky, weirdo, pervert groups or whatever they are getting involved makes it even worse.
Laurie?
I find this a really difficult one. I don't have kids, and I don't have much lived experience of what parents are going through here, though I can understand in some of the articles that we've seen today that there can be this concern about what children are being exposed to. In the past, if we look, I like to, at these sort of issues that are often couched in terms of culture wars, I like to look back in time at what things were like in the past, right? We, in this country, didn't talk as openly as we probably should have about sex, about what that means, as in, sexual relations. And I think negative things came from that, from repression of talking about these things. I think that we have got better at talking about the fact that people are gay. And there was a time where that was obviously a really contentious thing at school. now we're in the situation where we are talking about the complexities of a new set of issues that people are wanting to talk about much more. I don't think we've got the kind of rules of engagement for how we do that yet. And I don't have any sort of set of answers to what you do there, but I see stories like this time and time again where people are finding it extraordinarily difficult to be in these febrile atmospheres. Like we've got here in our pack a story from the Daily Mail about how intense some of these issues have got in school, with kids shouting at each other, with parents finding it very difficult and so on. And I'm just really struck that we don't have the kind of set of shared norms that can recognise the differing views here, that the need to talk about sex and how people have sex and the different ways they have sex and the pitfalls of this and the risks and so on in a way that deals with the complexities. I did some of this at school and was a sex ed trainer for a while, that we're able to talk about elements to do with gender and sex and identity that can recognise that, you know, some people may not feel comfortable with certain roles that have been assigned, but we've also got a shared language we can talk about this. I can't necessarily offer any particular, you know, silver bullets on this, but I'm just constantly aware that we haven't got a shared sort of set of rules of engagement and norms in this country around these issues. It's really difficult.
But that's exactly why we don't have these shared norms in the classroom, because we don't have these shared norms in society more broadly, because there isn't a textbook right and wrong as to how to conduct a relationship. I mean, this depends upon your own sense of morality. Perhaps it might be influenced by your religion. It might be influenced by the context, by the community that you live in, and the idea that there's black and white rules. I mean, obviously, short of don't beat somebody up, you know, don't hit people. You could stand in a classroom and say, now kids, when you grow up and you make a relationship with someone, be kind, be nice. But actually relationships are caught, not taught. You know, the morality of how we conduct our lives is not something that you can learn in a classroom kind of making notes.